So this last example, cos x equals x squared, it is not possible using the algebraic skills that we have to solve for this one algebraically. This one you can only solve with your graphing calculator. A couple of hints that you'll need your calculator is the fact that it says give the roots to the nearest hundredth, and so you know that you're going to need your calculator for this. In order to solve these easily with our graphing calculator, what we're going to do is we're going to type in one side of the equation into y1. We're going to type the other side of the equation into y2. And we're going to graph both cos of x and the parabola at the same time. So what is this going to look like? We go to y equals. I type in cos of x into y1, x squared into y2. I have my calculator in radians. And we're going to solve for this. Now, I'm going to push graph, and I'd like you to push graph, and chances are that our graphs are going to look different. You probably have a window that we used from this morning. I have a window that I used from this afternoon, and so our graphs look different. My graph looks pretty good because you can see the parabola intersect our cos graph. Can you tell that there's only going to be two places that it intersects? And because that parabola goes up forever, it's never going to cross again. But the question is, maybe your graph doesn't look like this. How can you change your window quickly to look like something you would like it to look like? So I'm going to show you a couple of ways to change your window quickly with your zoom button. So here's your zoom button. Probably the one that you're going to use the most is number 6. So if you go down to number 6, that's your standard window. What your standard window does is it goes from -10 to 10 in both your x-axis and your y-axis. So if you do that, there's your cos graph. Has a period of 2 pi, so it's doing that every 6.28. And there's my sine graph. So that's one zoom window that you may like to use. And this one would be enough to solve it. So we're going to solve it right now, assuming we went zoom standard. And how do we find out where they intersect? Go second, calculate. Number 5 is an intersect. Push enter 3 times, and it will find the closest one. So it found 0.8. X equals 0.82. That would be to the nearest hundredth. If I want to find the other one, I do the same thing again. And this time I move my cursor closer to the other one, push enter 3 times. And it gets negative 0.82. So those are our 2 answers. And we've solved this question. So it's really easy if we can use our graphing calculator. We graph both things, one into y1, one into y2, and find out where they intersect. A couple other zoom buttons that you might like to try. So let's say you use zoom standard and you don't like it. If you have sine or cos, sometimes a nice one to use is number 7, zoom trig. What that'll do is give you one period of your function. So this one looks like it zooms in a little bit closer. Maybe this is a nicer window. But both this window and the other window do a nice job of showing that there's 2 answers. Okay? Another zoom one that you might use sometime is 0, which says zoom fit. Zoom fit tries to fit what you have on your graph nicely. I'll warn you though, sometimes zoom fit is awesome, sometimes it's terrible. So now,
Just a friendly reminder for the students that are involved in the Winnipeg JETS program.
okay,
Please report to room
I would say in this time it's terrible.
Thank you.
Because our cos graph looks flat. And I guess that made a really nice parabola. It's a very beautiful parabola, but our cos graph is really squished. In fact, if you want to see what they decided to use for their window, you can hit the window button. And they thought it would be nice for the y-axis to go from -1 to 74.6. Don't know why. So the zoom fit tries to make it as nice as possible, but sometimes it's not the greatest. Probably in this one, I think Zoom 6, our standard window, gives us a nice window where we can see the solution. After that, sometimes you might want to zoom in. Sometimes you might want to hit your window and just make adjustments according to what you see. Okay, the question you can do for this one, if you want to practice your calculators, number 7.